Warm welcome from my side. I'm super happy and excited to be here. Great to have all of you in the audience. I'm super happy that you joined this session as well. We saw now a lot of coding and a lot of REPLs. Now this is about actually going live, as Annika was already alluded to. Perhaps we quickly skim over the agenda. There will be some slides. Sorry for that. I want to show you a bit what observability means to me and why I'm so excited about that topic. But then we go quickly to the hands-on. We will show you a demo, what is built into the platform today and what you could leverage already tomorrow if you're on board. And then we share some best practices. Good. Let's get just to the next slide and let's think about what sometimes I as well was not too long ago in kind of a position when we were launching a product, right? So normally I wake up in the morning and I hopefully have a good time sleep, and eventually the code that I was developing and that I was nicely doing with CAP should have run now on that particular day and this particular point in time. But how can I be sure that actually this code behaves as it should? So have you been in this situation already? Did you see a product launch? And here I just took one of the latest SAP launches, and many teams at SAP are in this position. And not quite long ago, I was in this position as well. And when we saw then the system and how it behaved, it suddenly got slower. And I started to sweat a bit, honestly. So I was, what was going on? I mean, luckily I saw that many people were still successfully using the system, but something happened and it got slower and slower. And while looking then into the data, actually we saw and we found out that the memory was a problem. So the Java, and this time it was Java, so no Node.js in that particular case, was busy doing some memory management. So it cleaned up the memory, and then it served the customer. And it cleaned another memory, and it served the customer. And eventually, there was so much memory cleaning that it thought, why shouldn't I leave the customers alone? I'd rather do my memory cleaning. Well, that's a bit unfortunate, to be honest. But luckily, we are in cloud. Luckily, we do have CAP as well. And in order to safeguard us, we were able to play the cloud benefits towards our favor. So what we did is we did a restart. We did a zero downtime restart of all the systems. They could happily pile up some memory. They got restarted and run fresh again. And that led us to the fact that we were able to fix the bug while the system was still performing well. So that is something that could happen to anyone. And how was I able, with the team together, to actually solve this? I was able to solve that because I was able to look into the production data. I was able to see the schematics of the data, and this is what we want to enable you as well. So we want to show you what is built into the product already today on the platform so that you can be the same and that you can sleep hopefully well on your next product launch. One slide I give you, and then we go to the demo, okay? So SAP has a certain schematics, and usually in cloud it's like that. SAP takes a lot of responsibility. So if you think about the SaaS services that we do provide at SAP for you, basically we run it for you. So if you consume such a service, you don't need to take care, you just do the configuration. And that for us is a profession which is called and which is covered in our central observability tools. And one of the tools and one of the services that I'm as well representing here with my colleagues is the SAP Cloud ALM operations suite. So you can do basically central problem detection and as well good situations like seeing how the traffic evolves over time and whatsoever. But eventually, as from the central services and the central SAP services, it might be your CAP workload and your extension workload that eventually is being called. We are shifting some of the responsibility towards you. And this is then called our local observability portion of the house. So there, SAP cannot fix your code because apparently it was you who deployed the code and did a CDS run and a deploy in order to put it into production. Eventually, you have to redeploy it. Eventually, you have to have and we are providing the APIs. And on top of that, with local observability, we are providing you the necessary data in order to observe that. And this is called local observability. That's all fed, as you see in the slide, by telemetry data. And even this telemetry data, and we will talk in a minute as well about open standards, is fed by a flexibility means of open telemetry and open standards, so that you can even in your development enhance the telemetry data to your needs. So that will be as well part of the demo. One last slide and then really to the demo, so I tricked you a bit. Today we are going to show you two major tools, and this slide just for you to have some screenshots on the main QR codes if you like. So we are talking about the central piece, we are talking about how to cross-navigate to the local pieces, and how you as a developer, DevOps engineer or SRE engineer can basically do the best and serve your customers best in combination with the tools that we are providing. So now I'm happy to hand over and let's see some code as well.
Yeah, but before I can show the demo, I want to show you also a slide because I'd like to show you what we have prepared for you in this demo. So we have taken the famous S-Flight app. You can also download from github.com. We have deployed this S-Flight app in a BTP sub-account, embedded this in a build work zone, connected this to the SAP Cloud Logging for this local observability, and we have connected this at the same time to a SAP Cloud ALM instance for central observability. So everything is basically standard S-Flight application, CAP-based with HANA, and as a front end, SAP UI5, as you know it. Okay, this is already after the show, so let's go now to the demo. So this is the S-Flight application, as I said, embedded in the build work zone launchpad. So here I can start the application. You might have seen this application already. And I can just click around. You see it's not super fast, but it's acceptable. And something we have prepared for you is that when you click on this airline and click on the go button, then it takes a very long time. Now, what's wrong? For this, we can go first of all to the central monitoring in Cloud ALM. So open my Cloud ALM tenant here and jump first of all to the health monitoring application. The health monitoring application is the central entry point for lots of SAP products. Here in this context, of course, for also BTP apps, either built with or without CAP on Cloud Foundry or Syckel. And our sub-account, where our S-Flight application running is this one, this travel agency Cloud Foundry environment. Then I can click here to see the details. And there you see different metrics which we collect from the different Java or Node.js processes which are running in that sub-account. Some common issues are sometimes based to a garbage collection or to high memory usage or excessive memory usage. I can display a history of the memory just to check if everything is fine with this application. And as you see here, this famous sawtooth pattern, that means everything is fine. So at least here with this application, there's no memory problem. And as I said, we have also many more details. What we have chosen here, we are showing just the most important KPIs from OpenTelemetry. This I have forgotten to mention in the beginning in this slide. Of course, we also have put the OpenTelemetry agent to that service, which instruments that service to get all these metrics and traces and logs from this application. And in addition, we have also added an extension from SAP, which we have built. This extension simply, as I said, picks out the most important KPIs and sends them to Cloud ALM. I can also jump from here, for example, when I click here, I can jump to the Cloud Logging. So this is already the local observability. Then I see also my service here. And when I scroll down, I see already here under CPU, for example, because memory, we already saw that there's no problem. But CPU seems to be a little bit high in the last minutes. So what I can do next, now that I know already, okay, there's some CPU issue, I go back to Cloud ALM, to the real user monitor application. This application, again, works for many kinds of SAP products, but of course also for Cloud Foundry. First of all, I can see here in the front-end view the Front-end performance, as you can see here, the end-user time during the last 24 hours looks like, the network time and the server time. Everything is quite stable here, so there are no outliers. But if I want to see now what happened right now when I click this button, and maybe I can quickly go back, you see already here in the S-Flight application, there was a timeout, some communication error occurred here. So now I want to analyze this issue, so I go back to the real user monitoring, click, for example, on SAP UI5 to see all the SAP UI5 requests which happened in the past or in the last hour. I know that the application which I have just called is called SAP reCAP Travel Analytics. This is simply the module name of the UI5 module. So I click on that one. Then I can see the different clicks which were performed within that last hour. And what I clicked here, which caused this timeout, was this Go button. So I click on this Go button. Then I see the different executions from the past. And here I see already, okay, there was one execution like 3 minutes ago. This was most probably my click, which took 30 seconds. Then I click on this on this link to see that click. And I see, first of all, the response time or this request from SAP UI5, which was coming from work zone with an overall response time of 30 seconds. And I see that this one made an HTTP request to this S-Flight service, so my backend CAP service, and here it took even 60 seconds. You might wonder now why it took only 30 seconds on client side, but 60 seconds on server side. The reason for this is that there's an up router in between. The up router is not monitored by us because we are only interested in the server components which are developed by you. And here in this case, we have a managed up router. And the timeout of that up router was 30 seconds. That means the client already get a timeout after 30 seconds, but the server or the service was still running for 60 seconds in the background. That's why this difference occurs. And what you also can see here in this chart is that it made some database calls. You see the individual select statements to the HANA database, which all of them were quite fast. You can also see this in another view, like here, where you see this on this chart, how many requests occurred, which select statements were made, and so on. But most interesting is here, when I look here, is that most of the time was not spent on the database. It was just 138 milliseconds, but there was a very high CPU usage. And now that's all I can see in real user monitoring, because the main focus is here for the administrator or the operator to figure out where the actual performance bottleneck occurred. And then we have the possibility here via this link to navigate to Cloud Logging, to go to the local observability and to show everything in detail. And now I'd like to hand over to Karsten.
Yes, thank you. So now we go to Cloud Logging. That means we are in the problem resolution. And I would like to demonstrate what Cloud Logging can do for you, how we can help you. So we were put here from Cloud ALM in this nice trace view. And this is now a really normal OpenTelemetry trace that we can evaluate. So we can scroll down. You can scroll down a little bit. I have to familiarize myself with the browser. That is great.
Mouse oder?
It just hangs. So it's okay. So we can scroll down and we will find the issues where it takes quite a while, and we might want to analyze this, and you can see, okay, everything is here in this trace view. So that means if you have a trace that is misbehaving, we can find it, we can analyze it. So we can click on such a thing, and we get information about it. What was happening, what kind of spin we had, where it came from, and if there was an error, we will get information on that. So that is something that is a trace view that is there for all traces, so we can find more of them, see what else there is, and analyze tracing data. But the real beauty about Cloud Logging is not that it's a generic tracing tool, but it's a BTP observability service. And that means that we provide tailored data here. That means we have dashboards, and we usually start with the overview one. And that one basically gives you an overview about everything that is deployed to your, in this time, Cloud Foundry instance. So we can see how it is behaving. On the left-hand side, you see the requests that were going in, and you see the blue curve that peaks, that's the average request latency. So that's the one request that took quite a lot of time. We also see how much the rate is. Unfortunately, this application is not much used, but in the way you get the idea on how much traffic you see. So let me maybe not look at the last 50 minutes, but at the last hour, so that you can see, yeah, this is when Christian was setting up the demo and just trying it out. So there was a little bit of traffic. And to understand if your applications perform well that you deployed, there's also this kind of top apps view that shows you, okay, there are actually 3 applications deployed to that space, and all of them are working well, but we are interested in S-Flight only, so we just filter for it. Once you have done that, you can continue to the foregoing signals. That is the latency of the application, the traffic that it takes, then there's the error rate, and there is the saturation, like how much of its resources it is using. And there are detailed views on all of those, so we can like really view the details. And this is like, all of this is built on request logs that are emitted by the Cloud Foundry platform. And you can see there is a lot of detailed views that allows you to analyze the workflow or your workload. So we can do a little bit more, and like I can go through all of them, but I can only like urge you to really explore what we have put together here before I'm like now elaborating a lot more on all of this. And let me briefly go a little bit more to the end of this. So there's one thing that is new compared to last year, and that is our app crash detection. So unfortunately, in the last hour, nothing happened. Fortunately, probably. So let's see if this was the same in the last 3 months. And there we can see, okay, the app crashed once on June 27th. We get the reason why it crashed. All the deployments, redeployments also could show up here, but basically if you have an application that runs out of memory and is shut down by the Cloud Foundry runtime, you will see it here. It will emit a log because the runtime does. Your application most likely doesn't. If it crashes out of memory, no trace whatsoever. But here we can show you that the runtime noticed and kicked down the application, shut it down, you will find it. So this is something, we add data, we enrich your data. We give you more data than there was because the runtime knows. That is something that our service has. If you were consuming the Cloud Foundry logs from the Cloud Foundry log stream itself, of course you would also get the data. But that's the kind of integration that we have here. And we also have the possibility like to connect like the signals that we saw, like we can have a look at the requests that came in on top and on the logs that were written. And if there were runtime logs like redeployments, we could see them down here. But as you can see, like, Christian, you didn't configure the application too well, right? Like you see, this is a message that's just a string. This is because he didn't use our library to emit JSON logs. And this is what you used to do. You needed to do that so that we can have a log level and we can have a trace ID or something like that. But he was not being lazy. It's just like then when we switch to OpenTelemetry, we get the logs from the application in OpenTelemetry format. And that means, since OpenTelemetry format, I need to take out the filter, since OpenTelemetry format has some kind of semantic notion, that means he didn't need to configure the format. You now see it's the same data, it's the same dashboard, but this time fed from OpenTelemetry data. And that means that there is context. So you see the information now is nicely passed, and all you had to do was add the Java agent and bind the application to Cloud Logging. So there is one step less that you need to do to analyze your data. Okay. So I can give a very small sneak preview on the CF dashboard. You might have seen it in the foregoing signals dashboard. There's something called container metrics. This will be available hopefully in a few weeks. This was the last thing that was missing to the predecessor service, application logging. And there we will be having the metrics that we've seen earlier from this application. So here in the metrics, we already saw the JVM metrics where we have the memory and the CPU from the JVM. This is what the JVM reported. In the container metrics, we will get what the runtime reports. So it will include not only the heap memory, but all the memory the application uses. It does not need to be a Java app. We get it for any app that is deployed. And we will provide it so that you can analyze your CPU usage, your disk usage, and the memory usage of all your applications. Okay, coming back here, we have the OpenTelemetry data, and we nicely had an app that was Java. So let's filter down for that one again. What are other metrics that you might want to look at? So we implemented an explorer that helps you analyze the metrics that you send. So we have our application here, and we can already see this is now the Java agent. The Java agent does a lot of auto instrumentation, but at the very least, it tells us it has certain instrumentation scopes. So like you can see, for example, it's a Spring Boot application. That means there is this micrometer scope. If you have instrumented your application in Spring Boot with metrics, they will be in that scope. That means you want to be looking at this instrumentation scope. And at the moment, it doesn't let filter me for it. It usually does. So I don't know why that is. So usually you would filter for the scope, and then you can go down and you get metrics by name. You can choose for those. And if you scroll further down, you get raw data, and you get also some visualizations on how the metric looks like. So let's say, just for once, I take now the JVM thread count because it's easy to do that. I can see what values I have here, and I get an overview that allows you to explore your metrics a little bit. So we usually recommend you build your own visualizations, but we give you the tools to understand the metrics that you want to analyze first with that. Okay, so we have metrics, we have traces, we have logs put into ingested via OpenTelemetry. But we also saw when we looked at the tracing view that this looks somewhat not really to be in a good shape. And the reason for that is if you look here, this is Cloud Logging as its latest state. It's version 1.3.20 of OpenSearch that is running. So the latest OpenSearch version is 3.1. So apparently we have a mismatch here. Do you know what the link is?
The link to what?
To the newer instance.
This edge.
Ah, this is an edge. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So welcome to the newest edition of Cloud Logging. So what you see here is another instance, and this is now running at least 2.19. That came out in April this year. And this is what you can migrate your Cloud Logging instance to starting tomorrow. So we will write a notification how that is done. Basically, you mark your service instance for an upgrade, and then it gets upgraded. And what's the difference when we run this one here? So, of course, we have migrated all the dashboards. And I have prepared one just that you can see that it's basically the same. So that is the same application that we saw earlier. It is connected to the data that we saw earlier as well. So you see it looks just the same. It's the same application. I can choose the same time frame. We can compare this. Believe me, it's the same data. But now if you go to the trace view, there's something new. Something that is much, much nicer. So we, I closed the trace, right?
No, it's still, maybe jump again from real user monitoring.
Yeah.
Go back.
So
click on show detailed trace. Right?
So the thing is, I need to like this link that I need to get the trace ID somehow.
Double click on the ID. It's my laptop is a bit slow. Sorry.
Yeah, you need to order a new one, perhaps.
Yeah. It's just faking me out, right? So sorry for that. I think I can just click here and copy it over. So I just need to search for that trace ID so that we get an idea what the difference is. And then I'm like a little bit handicapped because I'm a Mac user and I'm not really with the hotkeys. So let's see if we can find it. Yeah, we can find it. I need to do it like this. So now we have the same trace here, and remember how it looked in the old version. That's the new one. And immediately what you see is on the top, there's an overview on how the trace looks like. So you get like a very condensed view, and down below is what used to be there as well. So like you see it's very much the same view. You can also click on it, get the inside information. But also what we now have is this so-called tree view, and that really helps a lot. So this is no longer the spans sorted by time, but they are sorted by parent. And we can like expand all of them, so you get an idea how they all belong to each other. We can collapse some of them to get an idea on what is going on in parallel, right? So it's a much improved view. And this is available for you like from tomorrow on. So now we have seen like how we can analyze our data with what is going on in cloud logging. So then we just continue on the slides, I think. What did we see? So
Yes, thank you a lot, Karsten and Christian. Great. A lot of screens that you can see and you can feel already. This is true power. For sure, there is a bit of a learning curve, right? But that's worth time spent. So what did we see? We started with health monitoring. So just getting the metrics of the thing. You basically don't need to care about that stuff in terms of onboarding. You can just leave the system, collect the data, and you watch it, right? The second piece was real user monitoring. There you benchmark how the browser behavior of the customers, and you're not sitting beside them, right? The server is collecting all of that data from the browser clicks, and you can, based on the clicks, analyze the performance. So you don't need, trace flags or whatsoever. It's on the system live as the users do interact, and you can analyze it in a backend, and you can benchmark your own performance against it. And lastly, a topic of exception monitoring we didn't show, but there are as well integrations with Cloud Logging and Cloud ALM. If really there is a lot of exceptions being thrown, error messages and whatsoever, Cloud ALM can give you the pointers that eventually it's unfortunately your code that might need a fix. As started in the beginning, this is a lot of pre-built content, but now it's sometimes as well about you and how you can even enhance the experience. And this is why, still sorry, it's going to be slides, but perhaps you go to the next slide. We are going to give you some pointers and some documentation on how you get your hands dirty and how you can get your hands dirty, how you can act upon it and enhance your own system to emit more data. So first and foremost, there is the official BTP developer guide, which is intertwined with as well the CAP programming model. And there is a developer discovery mission where observability for a full stack CAP application is being outlined on Cloud Foundry, on Kyma, in combination with Cloud Logging and Cloud ALM. That's usually something we do on TechAds and whatsoever, and it's really a very succinct mission that you can do hands-on even at your own pace. SAP Cloud Logging as well is part of the build code portfolio. We did hear that a bit in the morning. But now go to the next slide, please. We switch a bit gears, and I show you some code on how to extend your applications. And we start with Java, and we start with the basics, actually. And the basics that we chose as SAP as being a good citizen in the observability space is the one SAP, the one standard, the one open standard, which is OpenTelemetry. So many of you, I guess, heard already from that standard. There was open tracing, open metrics, and a lot of standards. But eventually, the community in 2019 coined the OpenTelemetry standard, which is by now one of the biggest CNCF communities that is out there and that is thriving. It's fueled by people like us, so the CAP library providers, the SAP systems who are emitting data, and the database statements, for example, that you saw, they are pre-built into the system. They are already compatible with OpenTelemetry, and this is why we can analyze them, for example. OpenTelemetry as well enables you, we will see that, with the integration and the ease of use, how you can very easily create own spans, own metrics, own logs, and fundamentally weave your parts of the system into, for example, such one of these large spans, and you can benchmark then basically database doing fine, like 2 milliseconds, super duper database. But my code, for example, and that was one of the things I think we missed a bit to show, there was one request and one span which was called Gazillion rows or travels.
Spans.
Yeah, exactly.
Traveled,
and this is something where we exactly knew this was some kind of a method we wanted to benchmark, and we were not quite sure how it behaved in production. And this is why we started and we stopped the span. And let's just flip to the next slide in order to show you how to do that. In the interest of time, perhaps, I mean, there is a bit of prerequisites, which is documented in the mission. I skipped that slide. But it's easy as that, right? It's a 1, 2, 3 approach. In the upper part, you see, first of all, you need a dependency to OpenTelemetry. I mean, that's tick mark, and it's very easy in terms of Maven dependencies or whatsoever. But then, before the custom logic starts, you get your tracer. You basically know exactly, this is a method I might want to check whether it's behaving all the time very sufficiently or sufficiently good or bad. And then I start the span, and eventually I end the span, right? And this is if I'm really on a custom method. The down below part of this slide shows you some coding. Again, we need some instrumentation, relevant dependency for that, if you just want to do annotations in Java. So the Java geeks in the audience basically find it very convenient, and that would actually wrap the need of really doing the initialization of that. But we all know that Java is not the only world, and we have a very secondary, interesting language and a development paradigm. And this is why I would now hand over to Sebastian from the CAP team, who is actually...
Yeah, I have the pleasure of representing CAP in this observability workstream, and I'm, whoever knows me, on the node side of the house. So first, I want to this also applies to Java, actually. If you saw what Christian Georgi presented this morning with the CDS add initializer, so we also have a CDS add telemetry that will work for Node.js and Java the same. And basically what you get here, if you see the MTA snippet, you get like the Cloud Logging instance with the proper configuration to receive OpenTelemetry details. Yeah, so one way to really add instrumentation to your application very quickly. But for Node.js, I'm going to come to that in a second. It's a little bit more complicated because auto instrumentation, unfortunately, isn't that great yet. So we have our own instrumentation library that is open source and that you can try out. But once you have that installed on the right side, you can see that you can then add custom metrics. You can add custom spans to those sorts of things and really add more detail to what your business logic is doing than we can as a generic framework, right? We can measure time spent on individual handlers, but not for, let's say, a fraction of workloads that are in one handler. And if you want to do that by yourself, maybe it has a remote call, you can add your own instrumentation. So, yeah, again, I quickly want to advertise this CAP.js telemetry plugin. So again, it's open source. It does auto instrumentation of your CAP Node.js application. And please try it out. Give us feedback. We are framework developers. We don't know the real world. You have to tell us what you really need to get your applications running better. In our own interest, or my own interest, what we did in the last couple of years, or actually since last year reCAP, where we already presented something with OpenTelemetry together with Holger. So we improved actually our support for Kima. That was based on the great work by the observability colleagues. the golden path colleague, sorry, that Thorsten mentioned already with the guide. We improved massively how we trace messaging and span, so everything spawns, everything that's asynchronous. Then we allow you to actually add your custom spans into the trace hierarchy a lot more easier. That was one feature that really came from externals, selling. If I have a custom handler and I do, for example, a remote call, I need to have a span for only this piece of work, and I need it on the correct spot in the hierarchy. So we invested there. That's the bottom screenshot. And also what we did now, that is going to be probably incredibly useful, especially in combination with Cloud ALM, is that we can also now export our application logs via OpenTelemetry. So if you have your CAP application bound to Cloud Logging, it will fetch the logs already from standard out, basically, so nothing needed there. But if you need it in a different backend, then you can now export the application logs via OpenTelemetry. And finally, we have, or working on, we didn't quite make it before reCAP, is metrics for event queues. Java already has that available, CAP Java. So those are some of the things we're investing in here. And again, please try it out and give us feedback. Open source repository, just open an issue there, something doesn't work, because really we need the feedback to know where we have to invest in here best. Thank you.
And he's a rocket, honestly. I mean, if you open ticket, it's on the GitHub, it's closed very, very soonish, usually. So thanks a lot for the CAP team for supporting that as well. Great. Roadmap of Cloud Logging, one sentence. OpenSearch 2.x is right at the corner. So that's something that we are really very proud of. As you heard, there are much more than only the trace view in that upgrade. Be sure to explore that. If you are anyway on our predecessor service, which is called Application Logging, there are even more reasons now to move over to the new offering. This is really a superior experience that will boost your DevOps procedures, alerting, custom dashboards, and whatsoever. So definitely something to look into. And then I want to wrap up quickly with just one slide and showing you what did we see. So first of all, I want all of you to sleep healthy for your next product launch, right? Go explore this stuff. Yeah, look into it. Check that you're ready and prepared. I want to, as well, help you to analyze, and not only to analyze, but understand what the system is really doing. I have been in so many discussions with teams where everyone was really certain how the system behaved unless they saw, right? And that's something, with the power of the tools that we do have, it's on our hands, you know, to just tap into that. There is no place like production, and there are so many good things in production. It's really a joy to look into production as well, and this is what as well drives me. And your feedback matters, so don't be shy to talk to us after the session and on the evening event, and more than happy to as well get perhaps for 2 minutes some questions. So back to you, Annika.
Excellent time management skills, thank you. So you were right, we have 2 minutes. Yeah, give it up. Are there any questions in the audience?
There is one.
Where's Volker with the phone box? Just give us a sec so that we can get the microphone to you, so that our audience joining us online can also hear your question. So, there you go.
Thank you.
Thanks for the session. I have a question, and I'm not aware of anything, but Cloud ALM, is that something that's already available in BTP, or is that something that needs to be bought separately?
No, actually Cloud ALM, it's part of the support contract. So basically you are entitled for a Cloud ALM tenant. There needs to be a tenant provisioning eventually, but that's something that usually all the SAP customers have direct access to. So there is not a separate charge for the Cloud ALM piece.
Perfect.
Good question, thank you.
We have one more question over here, and I invite the other 3 gentlemen maybe to come to the middle to the stage, because the audience can't see you online,
Exactly.
and that's
Thank
a shame,
you.
right? Go ahead.
Thanks for the session, it was very impressive. I just checked the pricing for this in Discovery Center, and it looks like it's just $1 per month. Is it really like that for logging service?
So the logging service is based on a capacity unit, which is an hourly based pricing. And we have a link in the Discovery Center, which is called our calculator. And then you can put basically, for example, a month of pricing. The pricing actually depends on the amount of data that you send in, the amount of ingestion nodes, the amount of retention you configure, because we have some flexibility. We have as well two basically boundary conditional elements in terms of sizing. We have a large and a standard plan, and that as well drives the eventual amount of storage that you can have below that service. And there is a third option, I think, for test and development, which is super, super cheap, and it's basically a flat rate. So I would encourage you to start with that, but as soon as you go towards production, you book a standard instance, and then you can get going with that. And you see the pricing in the calculator.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
So thank you for that question. And for those of you who had a question but didn't have the chance to ask them, you can find these four gentlemen in the break. But don't run away just now. I can see some people doing like little stretches because, let's be honest, we've been sitting for quite some time. So that's why I want to invite Marion here on stage, because we'll have another one of the yoga sessions. So thank you one more time to you. And Marion, the stage is yours.